It's the final round of the Swann Insurance Australasian Superbike season, and the diversity of motorcycles in the major support categories has been phenomenal. The Kawasaki Ninja 300 in the FX Ninja Cup. In the Formula Extreme C and D grade, the Suzuki GSX R1000. The Australian-made Irving Vincent 1600. Lockie Thomas Racing's Honda CBR 1000 RR. And the Ducati 1299 Panigale by Racers Edge Performance. Well folks, welcome to the home of Australian motorsport here in Western Sydney. It's Sydney Motorsport Park. It's round 7 of the Swann Insurance Australasian Superbike Championship, and joining me on this fantastic day is Phil Harlan.
Yeah, thanks Lance. It's going to be a fantastic final round. Of course, the bikes are out on track getting ready for the first of our Ninja 300 Cup races. This season has been absolutely unbelievable for this class. Paul Young comes in with a commanding lead, but the battle for second place is really on between Ryan Masri and Tony Jones.
The Kawasaki Insurance FX 300 Ninja Cup has been entertaining, to say the very least, throughout 2015, and we expect nothing less. With a good performance today, Paul Young will secure that championship and do a great job. But Ben White on the Keelan Kawasaki has been keeping him very honest throughout the year.
He's really fast around here at Sydney Motorsport Park. Paul Young will start on pole position. Jack Dawes, who's also in contention for that second place in the championship, and also the under-20s will start next to him. Ben White and Tony Jones on the front row of the grid.
Yes, a gaggle of riders behind, very keen to do the best they possibly can. Well, there's a bit of an indifferent start, you've got to say, but we're underway here at Sydney Motorsport Park for the final round of the Swann Insurance Australasian Superbike Championship. You can see Paul Young there on 310 trying to get the whole shot round the outside.
Yeah, Jack Dawes got a fantastic start on board the yellow bike number 315 as we go on board with Ben White now, the Sydney Motorsport Park specialist. Oh, some late breaking moves there from few riders back in the pack. Jimmy Broadbent on the SA Kawasaki BC Performance machine looked like he was very late on the brakes on 365.
4 wide, rubbing shoulders, swapping paint and all sorts of things early on. But that's the beauty of this FX 300 Ninja Cup. Up over the top of the hill and down for the run into DID chains for the first time.
Oh, Ben White, you can see on 308 having a big dive up the inside of Shane Yoakum. Wasn't able to get past the rider from our nation's capital, and he's got a little bit of work to do as the big field streams round through the back of the pack. Stuart Green, one of our leading FOB riders, also having a pretty good challenge there mid-pack.
But this is what we've been used to throughout 2015. This season has been dominated by the man out in front, Paul Young, on board machine 310. It is the SA Kawasaki BC Performance's Kawasaki Ninja 300, and the man with a wealth of experience. Oh, there goes one down on the outside. Unlucky.
That is a big crash. That looked like it could have been Shane Yoakum that was having a big charge through the middle of the pack, and unfortunately the rider from the ACT crashes out at the very tricky turn 8.
He looks okay, just a little bit winded, and understandably the way that bike catapulted him around. Here we are on board with Ben White. We've got a hand up. Looks like we've got some problems there. Yes, red flag. The race has been prematurely called to an end, so there will be a restart. And here's a replay of that incident with Yoakum coming around. He just seemed to lose the front end. It was a fairly casual sort of a drop there, Phil, but unfortunately when he hit the grass he bounced a little bit and the bike came off worse than what I think he did.
Yeah, the bike actually did quite a few tumbles, but it's fast and it's off camber, turn 8, very, very tricky, and no, it's not surprising to see someone lose the front end through there early on in the race.
Here we are with a full race restart now, and it's a little bit of deja vu there. Paul Young trying to get up around the outside of, I think you'll find Tony Jones trying to get up there as well in the early stages.
Yeah, Tony Jones has been very fast here at the round that we had mid-season, and unfortunately crashed on the last lap, which deprived him of a race win. But as they all stream down in towards turn 2, it is Ryan Masri that has a big lunge on the brakes. Of course, he's battling for second place in that championship. Jack Dawes, who's also in contention, the man that's actually just ahead of our onboard man now, Ben White, is putting in a great ride here, and he is right up there challenging Paul Young, and that's no mean feat when you consider that Jack Dawes is only in the infancy of his road racing career.
Ben White lining him up as he comes up over the top of West End Mazda Hill and down into DID chains, and he's doing a great job trying to get up there. So too are some of the other riders. They're battling it out for Pride and Honour Hunter Ford, a Novocastrian with a wealth of talent underneath those leathers and a big future in motorcycle racing.
Yeah, good to see Stu Woodbury doing duty on the Kawasaki Insurances machine this weekend, guest rider, and great to see all of the journalists that have had a real good spin on that bike over the year.
Around through Racetech they come, the very fast left-hander around the old corporate hill and down into Stay Upright Riding School's right-hander and down for the run along Dunlop back straight heading into Bell Helmets.
Well, what you get there is a classic example of why you need to utilise the slipstream at every opportunity in this class. The bikes are so even. There is literally nothing in them. And of course, this class lands like all of the support classes. They drop the worst round. Paul Young has got a commanding lead in the championship once you take away that worst round of the championship point score for him as we head now into this season finale round.
Out of Bell Helmets and for the run down the Swann Insurance Main Straight, it's all Paul Young. Here comes Dawes trying to get the run up the inside there of, I think you'll find it may well have been Hunter Ford trying very hard. No, in fact, it was Ben White.
Yeah, and also that's a replay of the favour that Ben White did or got off Jack Dawes as they made the run up towards turn 10 on the previous lap. But as they come down now into turn 1, Jimmy Broadbent having a big dive up the inside. We've said about it plenty of times this year. Last year he was fitting tyres for the team, saw how much fun the riders were having, thought I need to get involved, and well, Kelvin Riley's managed to find him a bike and he's been one of the stars of this season.
And they're still battling it out as they go over the hill and down into turn number 4, side by side. This is the battle for 5th placing. What a great job the boys are doing. They're chopping and swapping left, right and centre.
The man that he's dicing with 2 lengths, the rider on bike number 345, a name that you'll be very familiar with, Sam Condon. Yes, it's Sean Condon's young cousin, and they've really burst onto the scene in only the last 2 rounds of this championship. Look at the battle behind Hunter Ford, the man that created all sorts of havoc here at the last round when he got the elbows out and really gave some of the established front runners in this class a real hurry up.
Round through the back of Racetech they come down into the right-hander as we take the opportunity for a replay of the race start there. Some great slow-mo action here at Sydney Motorsport Park.
Unfortunately, Ben White looked like he was in slow-mo when everyone else was going at normal speed and really got away to a bad start. That's left him for a lot of work to do. He's slowly catching up to this group now that's battling for second with Jack Dawes and Tony Jones. And here comes Ben White. Looks like he might be bringing a couple of riders for company as well.
Round through turn number 1, the run down into Ipone, the first of the really tight left-handers here at Sydney Motorsport Park. Some great outbraking manoeuvres. Up the rise and through. Oh, that's Paul Young. He's down. He's lost the front end. Our point score leader, our race leader on the exit of Ipone, and he's down and out.
We need to replay that because that's the first time that I've seen that in a long time. Paul Young does not crash, and to do it with the championship well and truly in sight, well, that's amazing.
Here we have that replay. He's lost the back end. It just slipped out on him. I guess you could see the experience there, though. He's kept his hand on the handlebar the best he possibly can, kept the bike going. And here we have a current position of 3rd placing for Ben White. Gets up the back of Tony Jones. Jones, in the meantime, trying to get up the inside. I think you'll find that is Jack Dawes. Yes, indeed, Jack Dawes. Here we go with the points after dropping their worst round. Now with Paul Young out of contention, he could still win the championship, even though he doesn't finish this race.
Yeah, 2 of these guys, though, in this battle are battling for 2nd place in the championship with Jack Dawes and Tony Jones. But you saw the importance of the slipstream as Tony Jones, well, he's hit the lead now, and he'll take 25 points for this, and that could very well make sure that he gets a little bit of a jump going into the final 2 races for that all-important 2nd place. And when you think about it, it's going to give bragging rights for next year because most of these guys, apart from Paul Young, will be back. But Ben White, what a big move on the Kellen Kawasaki.
And right behind them, Jack Dawes just shaking his head. And another rider coming in is Sam Condon, you mentioned earlier on. He's catching up to this trio at the front, wants to make it a quartet.
He's only had 2 or 3 races in this category all year. He's only just turned old enough to ride in this class, Sam Condon. Obviously, he's got a lot of talent. And Ben White comes back at Tony Jones. They've been doing this all year. It's nothing out of the ordinary for these guys, but the fact that they're doing it now for the race lead is probably the one thing that's been a little bit different because Paul Young, as we saw, out of contention for this race win.
Jack Dawes right behind them. He wanted to go up the inside, then he tried the outside. He got his nose cut off. out of Stay Upright and down Dunlop for the last time. It's Ben White currently in first place on the Keelan Kawasaki Ninja 300. He heads down into Bell Helmets, only marginally in front of the rest of the field.
Yeah, that's an important too, because only marginally in front means that the guys behind Tony Jones and Jack Dawes are going to be able to take the slipstream advantage as they head down the long Swann Insurance straight into the run to the finish line. Tony Jones is in prime position, but Jack Dawes could get the advantage of the double strip seam as they stream to the line, but I think Ben White's going to hold them off. That is a great run from Ben White to take the checkered flag, Lance.
Yes, Tony Jones, he couldn't get close enough to get the slipstream. He finishes in second. Jack Dawes, a commendable third, and Sam Condon tried as hard as he possibly could, but couldn't catch up to them. Here are your full race results. White, Jones, Dawes and Condon we mentioned. Hunter Ford, Broadbent, Robbie Menzies, Ryan Masri, Douglas Bloomer and Jake Pettigrew. Let's cross down to our championship winner.
Oh, it's good. It's good to be amongst them, because I was here, doing 250 production in 1994. So I know what I know what they're thinking. I know what they're feeling. I know what they're striving to do. I've never been short of advice, regardless of who it is, because that's how you help the new riders in Australia come on is helping them.
Not only is he a fantastic rider, but he's also one who likes to nurture the young up-and-coming riders. He will start with the number 1 plate on his bike, but from the back of the grid because he failed to finish race number 1. So therefore Ben White, Tony Jones, Jack Dawes and Sam Condon share the front row of the grid.
Yeah, Hunter Ford, Jimmy Broadbent, Robbie Menzies and Ryan Masri. A couple of excitement machines there starting from that second row of the grid. But this is going to be a fantastic race. We've seen some unbelievable racing in this class, and we've also seen Paul Young, unfortunately, due to bike issues most of the time, Lance, start from the back of the grid. Hold on to your hats, ladies and gentlemen. This is going to be something worth watching.
Stuart Green on board with him momentarily. Back through the grid, one of the FOBs. Away they go. Look at Paul Young. He's on the left-hand side of your screen, coming from the back of the pack, but it's all Jack Dawes at the front at the moment. He should swoop around the front, but Tony Jones will try as hard as he can, and there goes Paul Young up into about half of the field already.
Yeah, but it's going to be amazing to see where he can get to at the completion of this first lap as we go down into turn 2 for the first time. On board with Ben White. Oh, we've got one running wide there on the exit of turn 2. We've got someone running right off at turn 2. They're going to have a little bit of work to do, but it's Jack Dawes, Ben White and Tony Jones that lead this as they charge over the West End Mazda Hill for the first time.
Up over the hill and down into DID chains they go, and look at that, the number 370 doing a great job to try and get up there nice and early. That's Hunter Ford, the young Novocastrian we've mentioned time and time again throughout season 2015, and good reports for him in 2016, coming back for more.
And looks like Robbie Menzies also has got a great start on board 377 as he comes up the inside of Jimmy Broadbent. It was strange not to see him in that battle for the first race because he has been one of the strongest riders in the second half of the season. Of course, the man mentored by the 3-time Superbike world champion Troy Bayliss.
Stuart Green on board the Mitchell Family Removals Kawasaki Ninja 300. He's one of the FOBs. Of course, you've got to have a combined weight and age category there of around about 150 to be able to get in and be eligible for that one. Ben White currently in second on the Keelan Kawasaki, chasing down Jack Dawes. At the end of Dunlop we are heading into Bell Helmets, the triple left-hander. Extremely important, Phil, to get the drive out of this last part of the apex of the corner to be able to get that run down the Swann Insurance main straight.
Especially, Lance, with these bikes. Oh no, that's one of the Cube Racing machines. That's Jason Martin on board 387. Looks like he's got a problem there, so unfortunately Ben Henry and the crew will have a little bit of work to do. But we spoke before about the importance of the slipstream. This is the longest straight at the circuit. You can see there the importance of the slipstream. Ben White up the inside, used the slipstream and that drive through the last couple of corners. We saw him hold them off to the line in the first race, and here comes Tony Jones on 312 up the inside, but Jack Dawes, I think he forgot to use the brakes at all going down there into turn 2.
That was very much a case of anything you can do, I can do better. You caught me out. I was unawares in turn number 1. I got you back in turn number 2. And look at the lead he takes out of iPhone up over the West End Mazda Hill.
Well, it was almost like they'd put iPhone oil all over his brakes and they simply didn't work as he went down there into that corner on that occasion. Only early on in this race, though, too. But you can see they're always about trying to get one up on their competitors. Look at the battle behind. Jimmy Broadbent, Jason Martin, and here comes Paul Young. He's up to, that's let's call that 5th place now, as they stream up towards Kawasaki Corner. He's come from the back of the grid.
Ironically enough, through Berwick Leathers turn number 5, it was Paul Young coming from the back of the grid on lap number 2. He's now up into 4th place, exiting Kawasaki and chasing down our front 3 runners.
Here we go, on board at the start with Stuart Green. You might even, if you're lucky, be able to see Paul Young come flying around the outside, because he made it up to mid-pack by the time they went through turn 1. But you can see how tight it is in this class, Lance, as they all try and get the best line now down through turn 1. Oh, it's hold your breath kind of stuff, even on the Ninja 300 here at Sydney Motorsport Park.
And that's probably the slowest they'd go through turn number 1, because the next time around they're on full pelt. Here comes Dawes talking about full pelt, trying to get around the outside of Jones. Jones had to sit it upright, and now look at that man in 3rd placing. He's under a fair amount of pressure. Ben White has been overtaken by our number 1 plate holder from last to 3rd on lap 3. Make that 2nd.
Well, the one thing about Paul Young is that he seems to be able to get the run into the corner, but he gets on the throttle so early that he's actually getting much better drive than everybody else out of the corner. As you said, he's up into 2nd place now, and he's looking to take the race win from the back of the grid, but not the first time this year we've seen him do such a thing, so it's really no surprise to us.
Halfway through this 5-lap race, and he's almost leading the race from the back of the pack with a total starting grid of 27 runners. Unbelievable effort. You can see why he deserves to wear the number 1 plate.
He's also the most experienced rider by a long shot in this class, as he dives down the inside, down into stay upright corner turn 9, keeps it upright as well. Paul Young, look at the masterful display from the man that's ridden just about every sort of motorcycle that you can. He's been a test and development rider for Triumph. He's won British championships, he's won Australian championships, and today he's added another one to that tally.
Catching our breath, taking stock of who's who in the zoo. It's Paul Young at the moment that leads Jack Dawes in 2nd place, Ben White 3rd, and Tony Jones back there in 4th. Heading out of Bell Helmetson for the run down the Swann Insurance Main Straight.
And this is important for Tony Jones, because he will be securing enough points here to make himself pretty safe in 2nd place in the Ninja 300 Cup Championship. Even more safe now as he dives up the inside of Ben White and grabs another couple of points towards his championship score. Ryan Masri and Jack Dawes, who he's battling with, well, he's got a good lead over Ryan Masri at the moment in the points, and Jack Dawes is trying to make up more and more ground, and he's going to take back points on Ryan Masri as well.
Jones, he's trying to line up the inside there of Ben White. Can't quite do it. White's got the upper hand. In the meantime, out in front, Paul Young covered his tracks extremely well there on the entrance into Ipoh. Great onboard shots coming out of stay upright corner here of Tony Jones, and right behind him, Ben White.
Oh, don't you love a clear visor? The steely gaze there of Tony Jones as he made his way through the stay upright corner. We're now through some of the best corners at Sydney Motorsport Park. It's 3 corners all taken as one, really, as they stream out now onto the straight. You can see them grab the throttles, tuck in behind the very small fairing of the Ninja 300. We're on the final lap. Paul Young is coming to the line. Can Jack Dawes get him in the slipstream? It's going to be close, Lance, but I don't think he can. Paul Young will win from the back of the grid.
Unbelievable effort. Paul Young on the SA Kawasaki BC Performance Kawasaki Ninja 300. Not only does he go across there with a number 1 plate, he finishes in 1st place from the back of the grid, as you mentioned. Dawes in 2nd, White 3rd, Jones, Condon, Menzies, Masri, Broadbent, Ford, and Bloomer rounding up our top 10. Here's Jack Dawes.
The race out there, Paul coming through, was very hard, but I stuck on him there and tried to grab a toe down the straight, but he got some drive out of the last turn. I have learned a lot this year, but I couldn't have done it without Chris Cameron and all the Demrys. Without them, I wouldn't be where I am today. So big thanks to them and big thanks to the team.
Fantastic effort. Here are the highlights of race number 3, with a fall in race 1, taking the championship and looking with victory in race number 2. Paul Young got a great start again, wearing proudly the number 1 plate. He wanted to go home victorious and have his name on everybody's lips.
And the other thing too, Lance, with this last race, the real battle was on for 2nd place in the championship. Tony Jones came in with a slight advantage. In fact, Ryan Masri, who came into this round in 2nd place, has slipped further back, and he's slipping further back through the field. This is going to cost him big time, not only in this race but also in the championship. But a great battle for 1st. Jack Dawes, as he said, he's learned a lot this year.
He certainly has, and he wanted to make sure that everybody knew his name at the end of this race as well. But Paul Young, being the champion that he is, came back in earnest, and this battle thrilled the crowd for the entire race distance.
Dawes was very late on the brakes going down in towards the iPhone Oils turn 2, but as usual Paul Young was even later. But look at this battle. Ben White and also rider on 377, that's Robbie Menzies having a ding-dong battle. Tony Jones in there on 312 as well. That's the real battle for second place in the championship.
Ryan Masri was still in touch at this stage as they headed down towards the iPhone corner, and you can see the out-dueling manoeuvres there of Ben White right round the outside. Masri tried hard as well, but got hung out to dry and had to settle for fourth place in that particular battle.
It was all about Paul Young. He took another victory. He is the champion of 2015. Jack Dawes, 0.056 of a second behind in third. And Ben White got to the line in third place to take an excellent podium at the end of the year. Tony Jones wrapped up second in the championship.
Here are your championship points. Paul Young finishing ahead of Tony Jones, Jack Dawes in third, Hunter Ford, Ryan Masri dropped back to fifth, and rounding up your top six is Ben White. Tube Racing Kawasaki's Robbie Menzies and Jason Martin doing a great job to finish in the top 10. Well, the action of plenty is still on in earnest here at Sydney Motorsport Park. Plenty more support category action coming your way soon.
The AMCN Best Presented Award for presentation over an entire season. It has to go to Evan Biles and the SA Kawasaki BC Performance team. So congratulations, Evan.
The whole season's been fantastic. What Terry and the ASC provides the community and the racing community and raising the profile of the sport in this country is fantastic. And I'm really proud to do this, and thanks very much to Kelvin Riley for running such a great operation with the BC Performance team.
Welcome back, folks. Get ready and set. We have plenty of action with the Formula Extreme C&D grade brought to you by Stay Upright and, of course, the Australian Motorcycle News, Pro Twins and Naked Bikes. We have Race 3, which is a combined class for these two categories of racing, and we'll also be looking at the highlights from races 1 and 2 in each category. Chris Keane, Richard Maricini and Ben O'Connor lead their respective Pro Twins classes. In the Naked Bikes, it's Adrian Pierpoint, Ian Goodwin and Stephen Cooper in the F1, 2 and 3. In terms of the overall championship, though, it's Bo Beaton ahead of Chris Keane and Adrian Pierpoint. And in the C&D grade, Brendan McIntyre, a runaway champion victor already over Jason Martin and Michael Witchard. So on to the Formula Extreme C&D grade, brought to you by Stay Upright. This is race number 1, and what an enthralling race this ended up being, Phil.
And no surprise to see Brendan McIntyre lead on board the Western Motorcycle Suzuki into turn 1. I don't think he's lost a whole shot all year, and race 1 was no different.
Yes, plenty of action in the C&D grades. Lucas Vitali was up there with a chance as well, and everybody just jostling early on in this one through the iPhone corners, and later on in the circuit itself, down the back straight, the Dunlop back straight, you could see that Brendan McIntyre opened up an opportunity there, only momentarily, but that's all Lucas Vitali needed to lead the race.
Yeah, Lucas Vitali showed in the support class races yesterday, Lance, that he was a man on fire here at Sydney Motorsport Park, and actually led the championship leader, Brendan McIntyre, around for a majority of this race and did a really good job. Had to relinquish the lead just momentarily, but it wasn't long until he came back using the power of his Rob Holcroft prepared Suzuki down the front straight.
Both of these front runners on Suzuki GSX-Rs, and what performances they've had throughout the year. They've been battling like this, race meeting in, race meeting out, as they headed down the main straight, and it was all about Brendan McIntyre chasing Lucas Vitali, but Vitali it was who took out race number 1. On to race number 2 highlights, and McIntyre again resumed responsibility at the front of the pack, but it wasn't long before the number 63 of Dominic De Leon, doing a great job on his Kawasaki ZX-10, took up the challenge early on.
Yeah, he really burst onto the scene, didn't Dominic De Leon? Was in the Best Presented Award too, Lance, with that magnificently prepared Kawasaki, but round the outside, that's a big move early on, but Brendan McIntyre, early leader, under constant pressure though from Lucas Vitali on board, not bike number 8. Look like he lost the front through that corner, but it didn't faze him at all, and he pushed on into the lead.
Remembering that these riders are C&D graders, they're separated from the Superbike Category A and B class, and they've got their race of their own. This battle for second place, it was thrilling throughout the entire 6-lap journey.
Yeah, Jason Martin has pretty much sewn up second place in the championship, but he really wanted to put the pressure on Brendan McIntyre, see if he could force him into a mistake for that championship lead, but the man from Western Sydney on the Western Motorcycle Sydney GSXR wasn't succumbing to the pressure, and Jason Martin, the Queenslander, although putting in a valiant effort, wasn't able to force him into a mistake.
Darren McIntyre in the meantime battling out for second. It was all about Lucas Vitale again. He took his second consecutive victory. Here is the run down for the finish line. It was the Western Motorcycles Brendan McIntyre who finished just ahead of Jason Martin. So on the warm-up lap now for race number 3. This is the combined C and D grade and Pro Twins and Naked Bike category. And we've had a couple of times throughout the year, Phil, where these two classes of racing have been combined.
It has, and it's provided some really spectacular racing. Of course, the very potent Suzuki GSX-Rs and Kawasaki ZX-10s against the probably light and nimble V-twin machines. At some circuits the V-twins have come out on top. At some circuits it's been all about the Pro Twins. We'll get a chance to see them battling in the next race, but this is the first highlight race, and Darren Jones starting from the front row of the grid. He just smoked everyone from that front row on his hybrid. Well, a licorice all sort of Ducati catalogue parts.
And Bo Beaton doing a great job to get up there as well, but Darren Jones on the Estate Masters entry was certainly second to none here, and he was, I guess you could say, hungry for victory as he slotted himself up the inside of Chris Perini early on.
Just goes to show you as well that you don't have to have the latest and greatest bike in this class to do well. Adrian Pierpoint's been riding that Tuono for a few years. We see the Panigale there up against also the Aprilia of Chris Keane, who was well and truly in championship contention, but coming from the back of the grid because they had a problem with the big 1600cc Vincent was Bo Beaton. But it was all about Darren Jones. He took the checkered flag in commanding style on board his Ducati 848 1070 hybrid, and the real battle was second place. There goes Adrian Pierpoint across the line, Chris Keane, and as we look up the straight lance, you can see Bo Beaton from the back of the grid on the Period 5 1300cc machine.
Doing a great job he did in race number 1. We're now into the highlights of race number 2, and this, of course, is the AMCN Pro Twins and Naked Bikes, and you can see there Adrian Pierpoint on the inside of the circuit, closest to the concrete wall, was having trouble keeping the front wheel down on the ground.
Yeah, but Bo Beaton started from that front row of the grid. He's brought the Racer's Edge Panigale out for this one, but importantly, it is a completely different bike to the one he rides in the Formula Oz class. Dunlop shot in Pro Twins as opposed to the Pirellis that he runs in Formula Oz. He's got to get used to a completely different motorcycle, even though they've both got Ducati written on the tank.
Chris Perini took the lead early on, and right behind him was our first race winner, and that was Darren Jones, of course. Bo Beaton chasing very hard, but the battles weren't restricted to the front of the pack throughout the entire field, side by side, corner by corner.
Yeah, Darren Jones glued to the back end of Bo Beaton's Panigale, but it was Panigale on Panigale at Kawasaki corner, and unfortunately Chris Perini had to play second fiddle to the Racer's Edge performance machine of Bo Beaton.
He was heading the field quite literally in commanding style throughout the entire race distance after doing that, and managed to have time to have a cheeky peeky boo underneath his left shoulder as he headed towards a checkered flag and victory in race 2 of the AMCN Pro Twins and Naked Bikes.
Yeah, Darren Jones was the next rider through on board bike number 37. He's going to be all pumped up for this final race as we get ready now for this combined race of C and D grade Formula Extreme and also the Pro Twins and Naked Bikes. But Bo Beaton secured the championship, the outright championship, with that second race win.
So on we go for the grid. Bo Beaton, Lucas Vitale, Darren Jones and Brendan McIntyre share the front row. Jason Martin, Chris Perini, Adrian Pierpoint and Chris Keane. And then we've got Carlos Rendon and Dane Purcell rounding up your top 10. On board the Estate Masters Ducati of Darren Jones on the front row of the grid. Looking forward to this one. The combined Formula Extreme Stay Upright and AMCN Pro Twins and Naked Bikes race number 3. Bo Beaton trying to get hard on the outside and Brendan McIntyre on the inside.
This is going to be a sensational battle between the handling of the 1300cc Vincent that we know is so good, and also the awesome power and trying to be controlled by these C and D grade riders. But look at the corner entry speed of Bo Beaton over Brendan McIntyre. There's an example of the handling abilities of that 1300cc Period 5 machine.
Another rider slotting up the inside, relegating Brendan McIntyre back to third placing as they go up over the West End Mazda Hill and down into turn number 4, heading over towards Berwick Leathers, turn number 5, and I think you'll find that that was Lucas Vitale. Yes, indeed it was. The rider on board machine number 8, who's now up into second place.
It's been Brendan McIntyre's nemesis this weekend, hasn't he? He's got 2 victories from 2 starts. Brendan McIntyre has secured that championship, though, as we go on board with Darren Jones now. He loves nothing more than a cut and thrust battle here at his home track, Sydney Motorsport Park, and that's exactly what he's got, Lance, in this race being held in the twilight here at Sydney Motorsport Park.
Down into Stay Upright, turn number 9. You can see the different angles that each of the riders are, I guess, incorporating in their own particular riding style. Down Dunlop Straight and into Bell Helmet's corner. Darren Jones, he's the man we're looking at the moment. He's been victorious in his particular category of the Pro Twins and naked bikes and has dominated the racing here so far today.
Well, there's Dane Purcell on bike number 15. He's been one of the real finds in the C&D grade class this year. Some really consistent performances as they stream down the front straight. You can see the speed differential there between the 1000cc four-cylinder machine, the big Rob Hallcroft prepared Suzuki GSXR of Lucas Vitale, and also the 1300cc pushrod two-valve V-twin, the all-Australian built machine, but the corner speed of Bo Beaton. Oh, that's unbelievable now. And only twin-piston brakes on that Irving Vincent, trying to pull all of that speed up as they come down into Ipone Corner Turn 2.
What a great piece of vision. Here we are again at the start, a replay of the start. McIntyre on the inside on 22. He's been the leading C&D grader throughout the year, and Bo Beaton on the outside trying to get around him, and he was very successful in doing that. This is a replay of the start.
Well, you can see how close Brendan McIntyre got to the back end of Bo Beaton, and then how much corner entry speed as they got right in towards the apex that Bo Beaton was able to hold on that Dunlop shod, Ken and Barry Horner lovingly crafted 1300cc Irving Vincent.
Out of Bell Helmet and the run down the Swann Insurance Main Straight. We're currently on board with Brendan McIntyre, the Western Motorcycle Suzuki. Up the inside of Bo Beaton in no uncertain terms. He takes up the running of second place, giving the C&D grade riders first and second, the Pro Twins and naked bikes third and fourth. Here comes Jones up the inside again of Beaton, heading down into Ipone. Beaton says, no, thank you very much. You're going to have to do better than that.
Well, it was lucky that the boys actually brought the 1300cc bike here this weekend, having a shakedown for the International Island Classic that'll be held later on or in January of 2016. But both of the 1600cc machines have had problems this weekend. They've raised the rev limit this year, Lance, since the first round, over 500 RPM because the bike is still making power. It's also handling very well. This one hasn't got all of the equipment that the big 1600cc machines got, but I tell you what, it's still pretty rapid when it's in the hand of this man, bike number 86, Bo Beaton.
You don't need all of the equipment when you've got the handling like that and the grace and dexterity of the rider that's on board of it. What a fantastic job by Bo Beaton to hold off the challenge there. Firstly, overtake Brendan Jones and Brendan McIntyre, I beg your pardon, and that also balked Darren Jones behind him.
Well, Darren Jones is going to try and get into the slipstream here and see if he can get dragged along by the power of the Western Motorcycles GSXR 1000 of Brendan McIntyre. You can see him just trying to get up the inside, but the V-twin has got the punch off the corner, but it doesn't have the speed at the end of the straight. And this is where, unfortunately, Bo Beaton will get smoked once again by McIntyre, but he needs to try and get as close to Vitale as he can as they come out onto the straight. You can see how hard and how early he's on the throttle, and they're tucked in behind the very small screen. But here we go, Jones. He's riding the slipstream, but you can see the four-cylinder machine just start to pull away.
Yeah, Jones unfortunately wasn't right behind McIntyre that time as he exited Bell Helmets and started his run down the Swann Insurance Main Straight. He got a little bit balked and therefore could not capitalise on the slipstream. Here's some great slow-mo replays through turn number 9, the stay upright corner.
Oh, and look at that. Jason Martin on board bike number 61. He hasn't given up hope of hopefully getting up there and challenging Brendan McIntyre, but I think McIntyre's just got enough points now that he's wrapped up that championship.
A great battle here for 12th placing at the moment. The riders doing a great job throughout the entire field. A combined C&D grade and Pro Twins and naked bikes class.
Yeah, good to see, as we said, the variety of machinery. We've got a BMW S1000RR, we've got a Triumph Daytona 675 and Aprilia RSV4, and of course the older model RSV Mille, which is the twin cylinder machine. That'll be a few years old now, but still very, very rapid round here as Brendan McIntyre gets the back end all sort of squirrely as they go down into stay upright turn 9. He was lucky to keep it upright there.
He was feeling the pressure from Darren Jones and was dancing precariously close to the limits of adhesion as he headed down into stay upright there on board that Suzuki. So it is the Ducati that's got the upper hand and takes up the running of third placing now, Darren Jones.
Well, he might be the estate master on the estate master machine, but he was the master of turn 9 there with a great line. But can he hold out the very rapid machine of Brendan McIntyre? He goes around Bo Beaton, gets absolutely smashed on the straight, does the 1300cc machine. But when they come back down towards 2 is where Beaton will come back. But this is a great ride from Darren Jones. He loves riding this bike. He loves riding racing in the Pro Twins class, and he loves Sydney Motorsport Park, and he's putting on a great race here in the last race of the season for this category.
And our race leader, Lucas Vitali, likewise is doing a similar thing. He's bolting away with this. We're on our 6th and final lap here, heading towards a checkered flag. Once again, this is the combined Stay Upright Formula Extreme and AMCN Pro Twins and Naked Bikes class. Here's a replay of somebody not quite so lucky.
Yeah, I think that's Dane Purcell. That looks like turn 9 to me, and unfortunately, I reckon he's lost the front end going down there in towards turn 9. Unfortunately, at the Stay Upright corner, he failed to remain upright.
Well, there he is upright on the fence now, looking at the damage of the Ballina Motorcycles Kawasaki ZX-10R as our race leader heads out of Stay Upright, down the Dunlop Straight and into Bell Helmets for the last time.
Yeah, Bo Beaton in third place there. Darren Jones in second, just ahead of him. But our race leader at the moment is Lucas Vitali. You can see him there going up the inside of one of the back markers. Lucas Vitali has been a man on a mission. He has had an unbelievable round here at the final round of the championship, and he's going to go into the Christmas break extremely happy with another victory on board bike number 8, the Suzuki GSX-R.
He finishes well ahead, comfortably ahead of Darren Jones. Bo Beaton bringing home a fantastic third place for his team. Brendan McIntyre finishes in 4th. Jason Martin, Carlos Rendon, Chris Perini, Chris Keane, Adrian Pierpoint and Dominic De Leon rounds up your top 10. Let's hear from a very happy Lucas Vitali.
Yeah, I'm pretty stoked with that. I think Bo might have been having a problem with the Vincent, and yeah, when I got the opportunity down the straight, I've just put my head down and went for it. Big thanks to Big Rob from Central Coast Performance. Just helped me out all weekend with suspension and tyre pressures and all that. Couldn't be happier.
Your champions of 2015 in the Pro Twins, Bo Beaton, Richard Maricini and Ben O'Connor in their respective formulas. In the Naked Bikes, it's Adrian Pierpoint, Ian Godwin and Stephen Cooper. Congratulations to them. In the overall standings, Bo Beaton takes victory ahead of Chris Keane, and rounding up your top 3 was Adrian Pierpoint. C&D grade, commanding victory to Brendan McIntyre, Jason Martin in 2nd and Dane Purcell a creditable 3rd. Don't go too far away, folks. If you've been excited so far, there's plenty more to come on the other side of this break in the Racetech Formula Oz class. Thank you for your continued company here at the Australasian Superbike Championship, brought to you throughout the year by Swann Insurance. It's now time to look at the Racetech Formula Oz class, and Phil Harlem, this Run What You Brung category of racing has been thrilling, not only this year, but since its conception.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Lance. It's one of the best categories, one of the biggest fields, in fact, the biggest field out of all of the categories. Paul Byrne wrapped up the championship at the last round, but the battle is on for second place between Simon Galloway and Ben Henry, and Jason Ivkovic also has put in some good races this year on board his Suzuki GSX-R.
So this is race number 1 of 3 coming your way. Of course, later on this afternoon, we'll be having the twilight finale in race number 3. Paul Byrne on the Lockie Thomas Racing Honda. As you mentioned, he's already secured the championship. He'll start on the front row of the grid alongside of Bo Beaton, Craig McMartin next to him, and then Ben Henry rounds up the front 4.
Yeah, a few Yamaha R1s on back on that second row of the grid with Liam Wilkinson, Simon Galloway, Mitch Painter back on board his Kawasaki as well. Great to see the Queenslander back on board bike number 77.
So 6 laps is the duration, and away they go. Simon Galloway getting a little bit of an indifferent start here and gets swamped out in turn number 1.
Yeah, has to follow the fellow Yamaha R1 mounted Liam Wilkinson through turn 1 for the first time, but the battle at the front is between Paul Byrne on the Lockie Thomas machine, bike number 52, and also Bo Beaton on that Racer's Edge Panigale, bike number 86. But this weekend, Bo Beaton has also got company in the form of his multiple Australian Pro Twin champion, Craig McMartin, teammate, and look at McMartin, he leads them across the top of the hill. Who's that going out? No Bo Beaton in third place. That could be Bo Beaton in a pile of dust at turn 3. It is, Lance.
Unlucky for Bo Beaton. He's had a great year so far, but he has bit the dust a couple of times and caused some dramas there. The Ducati is getting upright okay, but he'll take no further part in this one, I would expect. In the meantime, out of Kawasaki and the run around Racetech, it's all Paul Byrne chasing down Craig McMartin.
Well, Craig McMartin retired from serious racing a couple of years ago. You wouldn't think so as he comes down into Stay Upright corner now with Paul Byrne glued to the very small ducktail of the Racer's Edge Performance North Coast V Twins. Craig McMartin Martin Racing Panigale. Look at this, it's a drag race up the Dunlop Straight and into the final corners, and I think Paul Byrne has just come out on top.
Well, you've got to put all credit to the Lockie Thomas Racing team. Of course, Pete Ward heading the mechanical side of things there, doing a great job to be able to get that bike to steer the way that it does through that corner. A graphic evidence there of how Paul Byrne has been able to dominate throughout 2015.
He's also back on his favourite bike as well, as Mick Martin shows that the 12.99 Panigale not short in the trouser department. Oh, down the inside, in towards turn one. That's a big move from Craig McMartin.
Very loose under power, though, you've got to say. Look at the wobble on that Ducati. It certainly balked Paul Byrne enough to make him run wide. Will he keep it on the black stuff? Yes, he's been able to, but he's lost a lot of ground on McMartin.
Well, remember the last couple of rounds, Lance, too. They've had some engine or some electrical problems with the Lockie Thomas Racing machine, and Paul hasn't been able to race on his favoured bike. He's been on the number 2 machine, but they've found what the problems are, and he's back on the pace. And look at these two. They're on the pace as well. Brad Swallow on the tap-out energy machine, and also Liam Wilkinson, the South Australian, on the protector print machine. A great Kawasaki and Yamaha battle, just like we're seeing in the Superbike class.
Out of Berwick Leathers, up towards Kawasaki, the lean green racing machine man, Brad Swallow, dancing all over that front wheel. He'll be riding in the Superbikes next year on 1000cc, and he's looking forward to it.
Oh no, is that Mitch Painter? Unfortunately missed the last round, and he's out of this race as well. That's bad luck for the Queenslander, who has been one of the revelations of this championship in 2015 with some really good performances.
The Lockie Thomas Racing Honda of Paul Byrne trying very hard to get up the inside of the Ducati 1199 Panigale of Craig McMartin, who is a man on a mission. He's determined to take a triple victory here this weekend.
Yeah, how good is the 12.99 Panigale straight off the showroom floor? That bike has got a slip-on exhaust, and that's pretty much all of the modifications that have been done to it, apart from the Racer's Edge performance fairing. And Paul Byrne just manages to slipstream as they get towards the end of the straight. McMartin holds his line on the outside. I thought he was going to hold on there and just hold off Paul Byrne as they went through turn one, but expect him to come back hard on the brakes. This has been a great season for Paul Byrne. He's really got a lot of confidence. He'll be back in the Superbike class as well next year, along with Brad Swallow.
A just reward for a great team, a great effort. Of course, Dave Thomas heading that team, with Pete Ward being the chief mechanic. Here we are, a replay of the start with Paul Byrne's Lockie Thomas Racing Honda.
Yeah, you can see the jump off the line there from the Panigale. Craig McMartin launched it absolutely perfectly off the line, held the line through turn 1, 2, and then as they came down towards Ipone Corner, just managed to hold out Paul Byrne, and this battle has been going on ever since.
This battle for 5th place between Liam Wilkinson, he's the rider on 34, the Yamaha, the red machine, on the lean green racing machine, the Kawasaki, Brad Swallow. He's had more fairings repainted and put on that bike throughout 2015 than I've ever seen on any season.
And he's also done double duty in the Supersport class as well, has Brad Swallow. In fact, he only jumped on the Kawasaki ZX10, I think it was the Queensland round mid-season, Lance. He really has adapted to the 1000cc bike, which has a completely different riding style to the 600 extremely well, but he still manages to carry a fair amount of corner speed. That was a big advantage for him as he got the run up Liam Wilkinson between turns 4 and turn 5.
He was telling me yesterday he's got his new set of leathers because he doesn't think he was seen enough. I think he's being seen plenty here this weekend now.
Well, he's putting on a great performance as they come down the straight, but Wilkinson gets the perfect line on the outside on board the Yamaha. That's the cooking model R1, the brand new R1. It's not the M model that's being used by the Yamaha racing team with all the up-spec equipment. And speaking of up-spec equipment, this Panigale comes straight off the showroom floor. The rider, well, he's pretty up-spec too.
And pretty cool, calm and collected. Look at that, having a turn of the head, 90 degrees. On the final lap, though, it's Paul Byrne who comes down into that corner. We just saw a replay of the Ducati, and he's leading this race rather commandingly in the latter stages.
Yeah, Paul Byrne, as you said, he's done a great job this year on the LTR Honda, but that engine that Pete Ward has prepared is absolutely unbelievable. It's been getting great drive all weekend, and it's good to see Paul Byrne wrap up the championship and take this first race victory.
So heading out of Bell Helmets and down the Swann Insurance Main Straight for the last time in this, the first of 3 races in the Racetech Formula Oz class. It's all about the championship leader and winner, Paul Byrne.
Battle's not really on for 5th place though between Liam Wilkinson and Brad Swallow as they drive out onto the Swann Insurance Straight for the final time. Oh, a bit of movement there for Brad Swallow. I think that means that Wilkinson is going to hold on for 5th place.
It certainly does. 6th place goes to Brad Swallow on the tap-out Kawasaki. A great battle throughout the entire 6-lap journey. Paul Byrne victorious ahead of Craig McMartin, Ben Henry, Simon Galloway, Liam Wilkinson and Brad Swallow. But let's hear from our championship winner, Paul Byrne.
That was a great race for us. You know, it's just a real credit to the boys that built a Honda and really showcase how good the Honda is against these bikes worth 4 times the price of it, you know, and it's a real testament to Pete Ward as well. He builds some really fantastic engines for me.
Here we are with race highlights of race number 2, the Race Tech Formula Oz category, and Paul Byrne, a very indifferent start there, even though he's got the championship under his belt already.
Yeah, Craig McMartin got a great start though and led them down through turn 1 for the first time, but Paul Byrne came back strongly on the outside but wasn't able to get up and take up the race lead. That was the duty of Craig McMartin on board the race's edge. Panagali, oh no, Byrne's gone wide. Looks like he's even got a problem there on board the LTR Honda.
That opened up the opportunity for Simon Galloway on board machine number 46, the Yamaha mounted rider, to get up into second place. But a great battle throughout the field in 8th place between Mitch Painter and Richard Mercandile.
Yeah, Jason Ivkovic was strong early on in the race as well on board his bike number 42, the Suzuki GSXR. But this battle between Ben Henry and also the 3 times Pro Twin champion Simon Galloway was an absolute doozy. They both managed to stay upright through stay upright corner.
Liam Wilkinson not that far behind in 4th placing, but it was all about the Panigale of Craig McMartin defeating the Cube Racing Kawasaki of Ben Henry in 2nd. 3rd went to Simon Galloway as the riders are now gridding up for race number 3.
Well, this is going to be a very interesting race, Lance, because Bo Beaton, who didn't start race number 2, crashed out of turn 1, and Paul Byrne, who didn't finish race 2, will start from the rear of the grid. They both desperately want to go out on a high last race of the season.
Well, even though the grid says Craig McMartin, Ben Henry, Simon Galloway, Liam Wilkinson, they'll start on the front row, no problems. Brad Swallow, Sutton, Painter and Mercandile on row number 2. Andy Fisher and Jason Ivkovic, they're in 9th and 10th respectively. As you mentioned, we've got to keep our eye out on the back of the grid.
As Sammy Phillips leaves the front of the grid, great start from everybody on the front row. Look like also Brad Swallow got a great start from the second row of the grid, but look at the red and yellow Chargers coming from the back of the grid, led at the moment by Paul Byrne. Look at him, followed by Bo Beaton, following him all the way through the outside of turn 1.
On board with Simon Galloway. This battle, though, for second place already. Up the inside goes Henry of Liam Wilkinson.
Well, I reckon there might be a bit of black, yellow and green paint on board the Liam Wilkinson machine there as they come through turn 2, the iPhone corner. It was very, very tight.
We mentioned earlier on in races 1 and 2 how determined Craig McMartin was, but look at the determination of Paul Byrne. He's up into the single figures already.
Bo Beaton around the outside of Brad Swallow like he was standing still in between turns 4 and 5, and he'll drive hard up the Kawasaki hill now. Oh no, we've got a crash early on in this race. Red flag, Lance.
Yes, red flags come out. We'll have a full race restart here. Liam Wilkinson on board the Protector Print, a Yamaha, slowing down, unfortunately there for the rider. He's getting the attention that's needed, and that means that we'll have a restart here. So we get to see from the back of the grid yet again. Here's a replay of the incident. First of all, that overtaking manoeuvre up the inside, and then if you look down to the right-hand side, you could see there he had nowhere to go. I think that was Paul Dutton that got it all wrong.
Well, I think it was the rider on the inside that probably got it all wrong, and he was the unfortunate victim, poor old Paul Dutton on the outside. We're ready for a full restart now. Another great start from the second row of the grid for Brad Swallow, but look at Paul Byrne and Bo Beaton charging already, just like we saw in that first instalment.
Craig McMartin swooping around the outside. He wants to take up the running down into iPhone for the first time. He's on board machine number 5. Liam Wilkinson on the 34. Then you'll find it's Ben Henry right behind him. The number 46 of Galloway. Then we've got the 23 of Brad Swallow, and not far behind them, Paul Byrne, and of course Bo Beaton.
Oh, Beaton trying to get up the inside of Paul Byrne. That was the corner he crashed at in the first race. That was a big move through there early on in this race. They're both trying to get up the inside of Brad Swallow. Byrne gets past Beaton, not so much, but this is where he went around the outside in that first instalment. Can he do it again? The answer to that, Lance, is yes.
Case of deja vu. He's right on the rear, cowling now of Paul Byrne as they head up towards Kawasaki. Simon Galloway in 4th place. He's got a lot of pressure on him, and you can see both riders, they barnstormed their way up the inside, and getting out of the saddle there was Paul Byrne under power.
Yeah, this is a great battle, not only between the Honda CBR 1000 of Paul Byrne and the Panigale of Bo Beaton, but also the Dunlop shod CBR and the Pirelli shod Panigale. Speaking of Pirelli shod bikes there, we just had a quick look at the ZX10 of Ben Henry, the man from Queensland, the man that's hanging up his leathers at the end of this race. This is his final competitive outfit, or hit out as a rider before he takes up team management duties next year.
Liam Wilkinson now getting dusted up in turn number 10, 11 and 12. The Bell Helmets triple apex left-hander. Paul Byrne up the inside of him, and following suit there was Bo Beaton. They're back there in 4th and 5th respectively. Here's a replay of Beaton and Byrne getting up the inside of Galloway in Kawasaki.
How nimble did the Panigale look? Speaking of Panigales, there goes Craig McMartin in the lead, making his way through stay upright corner turn 9. Here comes the battle though. Henry, Wilkinson, Beaton and Paul Byrne. And there's Simon Galloway on board his Yamaha just to make it a whole lot of brands in that top 5.
And a couple of Kawasaki's doing well as well. Also, Brad Swallow on the inside and Mitch Painter on 77 on the outside in the background of that last shot.
Oh, Beaton and Byrne have really closed down. Ben Henry now as Beaton tries to go around the outside. Oh, that's a big move from Bo Beaton on the Races Edge Performance. North Coast V Twins, Craig McMartin Racing Panigale. This is the 11.99R Panigale, not the 12.99 that Craig McMartin's actually leading the race on.
So down into stay upright, it is all Craig McMartin. Then we've got Bo Beaton, followed through then by Ben Henry, who will be Ducati mounted, his team in 2016. Paul Byrne, your championship winner, up the inside of Henry, trying to anyway at the end of Dunlop, and the first of the left-handers in Bell.
Well, I've got to say, Lance, that ever since Ben Henry joined the Formula Oz Championship early on in the year, it's been a real good spice up for this championship, and it's meant that Paul Byrne hasn't dominated every race and run away with it. He has got the championship now underneath his belt, but this is typical of the racing that we've seen also since Bo Beaton came into the class as well at the Queensland round earlier on this year.
So they're on their final lap now. Paul Byrne trying to get the upper hand and finish on the podium ahead of Ben Henry. He slotted himself up the inside of the Cube Racing Kawasaki, mounted on the Lockie Thomas Racing Honda. They're side by side down into Iphone, and going wide as Byrne. He's opened up the opportunity for Henry. He takes it. He doesn't need any second chances or second offering. Out of Iphone, up over West End Mazda Hill and down into DID chains for the last time.
Well, and the more that these two battle, the more safe that Bo Beaton's second place is looking at the moment as they make their way around the back of the circuit. Byrne back ahead of Ben Henry as they make their way out of turn 5 and up towards the Kawasaki corner turn 6. It could be a Races Edge North Coast V Twins 1-2 here with McMartin leading the race and his teammate Bo Beaton in second place. What a great way to finish off the team, or finish off the year for that team. And of course they're celebrating Julie Marr, the team logistics manager, birthday yesterday.
Well, barring any mechanical dramas, I think you're right. It'll be Ducatis 1 and 2, but will it be a Honda or a Kawasaki that fills out the podium?
That's a question I don't think we can answer just yet, especially as Paul Byrne has been lucky to keep it upright through turn 9, the stay upright corner. He is still on track, but Henry has closed right down now and will get the slipstream as they come down the straight.
Out of Bell helmets for the last time, a man that is really only a part-time racer now, the Ducati-mounted Craig McMartin, multiple champion in all sorts of classes of racing. He takes the final checkered flag in the Race Tech Formula Oz class here at Sydney Motorsport Park. It's going to go right down to the wire between Byrne and Henry for third as Beaton takes second. Galloway, he gets in 6th placing, a fantastic effort. Congratulations must go, though, to Craig McMartin. He was victorious. He got 2 wins from 3 starts, and he certainly deserved a victory in this last one ahead of Bo Beaton, Paul Byrne, Ben Henry, Liam Wilkinson. Simon Galloway rounds up your top 6. Painter, Swallow, Mercandole and Sutton rounding up your top 10. Let's hear from our winner.
You know, the Races Edge 12.99's working so well, and Steve Mudford from Race Dynamics has done such a good job for me this weekend to sort the bike out, and that's the best it's been all weekend, so I'm really, really happy. And, you know, congratulations to Bo and, you know, Paul. They're both super fast riders, and I was really lucky then that they had to start from the back.
Let's have a look at the championship points at the end of 7 rounds. Paul Byrne victorious ahead of Ben Henry. Simon Galloway takes the final podium position. Mitch Painter, a great effort to finish in the top 4. Jason Ivkovic, Damien Sutton rounding up your top 6. Well, folks, that concludes our coverage here from Sydney Motorsport Park. In fact, for season 2015. Thank you very much to Phil Harlam for his company throughout the year. I'm Lance Robertson. We look forward to your company again in 2016.